Welcome again back to Coding with Nylas, the live stream where we talk about programming, APIs, and more. My name is Blag, Senior Developer Advocate.
And my name is Ram, Developer Advocate at Nylas.
Cool. I wonder why our names are not showing up. So you can tell that it's awesome. Thank you, man.
We're still getting back to this, so bit rusty, but that's good.
Kind of hard getting back to speed. We used to do it like twice a week, and it's been long since we did our last live stream. So, anyways, let's jump in. Our topic for today is how to manage calendar events with the Ruby SDK. And you may know, and if you don't know, you're gonna know now. Yesterday we announced API V3, which is a complete overhaul. It's a massive work around our APIs. So they look way much better, and they work way much better. So today we're gonna see how we can handle calendars and events using Ruby. So let me share my screen. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna show you how we used to do that on V2. So on V2, we will put the Nylas gem. We would initialize our API client by passing the ID, the secret, the token. Then we would call Nylas.calendars. And then we just would loop it. And then we would say like calendar.id, calendar.name, calendar.description. So this is going to initialize the API. It's going to call all our calendars, and it's just going to display the ID, the name, and the description. So that's old stuff, right? That's V2. What we want to do now is V3. So this is the way we do it now. So obviously, we're going to still require the same Nylas gem. But as you can see, the way we initialize the client is completely different. Here, we just need to call our API key. That's it. Unless you're working for a server in Europe, and then you need to add an API URI. So this one, and you can find that on our documentation. For now, I'm using the US one, so I just pass the API key. Now we're gonna call Nylas, which is our client, calendars, and then list, because we want to have a list of our calendars. We're going to pass our identifier, which is our grant ID. So when you create an account, you create your API key, but also you create a grant. And a grant is going to give you access to your calendar or your email or your contacts. In this case, we need our grant ID to access our calendars. So you're going to see that it's going to return two values. First, the calendars, and the second is going to be the request ID. And that request ID is simply an ID of the call being made to the server to retrieve our calendars. And one important thing to mention is that with V3, the call is going straight to the provider. So it's not going to any Nylas server at all. It's just going straight to the provider and get it back. So that means it's way faster, more secure, and more awesome. So once that we have that, we just can go and do a calendar each. So we want to loop that. And we want to print also the ID, name, and description. But as you can see, we're not using the calendar.id or the calendar.name anymore. So we're calling it like this, calendar, and between brackets, the ID. But that's a better way, a more kind of like a standard Ruby way. So we're going to execute this one, which is the read calendars, and we're going to see how it goes. So read calendars, I think it's V3. Okay, so I'm going to run it. And you see it's pretty fast. It grasps all my calendars. We have the ID, we have the name, and we have the description. So I have all my calendars here. Not that I have too many, but still you can see that they're here. So the code is working fine. Now, if we jump now into the events, it's kind of like the same. Here we initialize our API. We're gonna call the day for today because I want to grab all my events from today. And then we have this query param. So it's a query parameter that we're gonna pass to our function. And here we're gonna specify the calendar ID that we want to grab. And we can limit if we want 5 or we want, I think the limit is 200 events. But for this one, we're just gonna limit it to 5. Here we're gonna pass that we want all the events for today, starting 8 in the morning until 10 p.m. Here, we're gonna call the same, Nylas events.list, probably a little bit bigger. We're gonna pass the identifier, and here we're gonna pass the query params. So instead of grabbing all the events, it's just gonna grab 5, and it's gonna be obviously the ones in our own calendar. So once we have that, we're gonna loop that, and we're gonna go into the when object event, because you know that a calendar event can have a time span, a date span, or just a date. So it can be that an event is for like 2 to 4, for example, or it can last for like the whole day, or it can even last for like 2 days, right? So like a hackathon, let's say. So we need to determine which object are we going to use, and depending on that, we're gonna print the relevant information. Also, we would like to grab the participants. So we want the name, the email, and the status. And also, once we have that, we're gonna print the ID, the title, and the participants of that event. So let's run that. Read events v3. So Ruby read events. And you can see I have a lot of things here. Read events v3. I think it's, oh, events, sorry. That will be okay. This one should be perfect. So as you can see here, I'm just grabbing 5. I don't have too many events today, to be honest. So I have the ID, the title, the time of the event. So it's today from 1 to 2. And here we have coding with Nylas, right? Which goes from 2 to 30. For participants, I got myself, I got Ram. So you can see that we got the right information. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So let's say we don't want to use any query parameters. So I'm just gonna go this, and we're gonna run it again. I think by default it's gonna grab 50 if I have that many. Otherwise, we can specify up to 200. So let's see. I forgot something here. Oh, I think I can pass it like an empty string. Yeah.
Empty. Yeah, I think it requires.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Okay. Things that happened. Oh, yeah, I made a mistake actually. So we obviously need the calendar ID because otherwise, what are we fetching, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna remove the limit. So no limit, just give me everything. And you can see that this is a secure API that is not allowing me to just go and fetch whatever. It needs to have a calendar ID. Otherwise, who knows what's gonna get. So we run that. And this funny thing is still trying that. Oh, because I need to remove that one. Yeah, that was important thing, just to remove the dates. So it doesn't grab just everything from today. Okay. You see, now it's grabbing more events. And as you can see, it was blazing fast.
Yeah, that's quite fast end to end to be able to receive all that data so quick.
So let's see what happens if I put a, like a limit of 200. I don't think I have that many, but just in case, we run it. And, oh, the comma. It's grabbing way more. And you can see that it was like way, like pretty fast. Even though I don't have that many events, still is V3 is way faster than V2. That's for sure. You're gonna notice once you start using it and doing things. Okay, so now for the create event, you can see that it's gonna be the same. We're gonna initialize our client. We have our query params, and obviously we need our calendar ID. That should be here, calendar ID actually. We're gonna grab today's date, and we want to create an event that goes from 10 p.m. to 12, which already happened, but doesn't matter. We're gonna have our request body, and this is where all the information regarding the event is gonna be. So here we're gonna use a when. So we're gonna say that it's gonna start today at 10 a.m. and it's gonna end today at 12. We're gonna have the title, we're gonna have the location, the description, and we can add a participant. So I'm adding myself as usual. And I am specifying that the status is no reply because I need to say I'm going or not. So the nice thing also about V3 is that you can notice that we're going to call here Nylas that events that create, because that means we're going to create an event. If we were to create a calendar, it would be Nylas that calendars that create. So you can see there's a pattern that everything is kind of like the same. No matter which SDK you use or which endpoint you use, it's almost going to be the same. Like Nylas that threads that create, or Nylas that contacts create. That's like that. So it's more uniform across SDKs and APIs. So here we're going to pass our identifier, which is our grant ID, the query params, which is all the information for the event that we're going to create. Sorry, that's a request body. And the query params is the calendar ID because we need to create that event in a calendar, obviously. So once we create that, we're going to see if the request ID is empty or not. And then we're going to print the ID, the title, and we're going to say that the event was created successfully. So let's see, create events V3. Let's clear this. Ruby create events V3. Let's learn some Nylas Ruby SDK, event created successfully. So I can now go and see that I have the invitation here. So you see that even that was pretty fast. I created and it was instantly here on my calendar. I'm not going to accept it because it was in the past, but doesn't matter. So the last one that I want to show is get availability. This one is really nice because it's going to go into our calendar and it's going to see whenever we have some empty space between meetings or if we have any available spot. So for this one, we're going to go and we're going to say like kind of like work time between 8 and 5. Here, we want to grab the workers body, the participants. So the email, we're going to pass our email. For the calendar's ID, we're going to pass the calendar that we want. So basically here on email, it's going to be the grant ID so that we're allowing Nylas to look at our calendar. And the calendar ID is which calendar we want to check. Here, we're going to say that we want to check between 8 and 5 p.m. And we want the slots that during 60 minutes, so like an hour. So every time we have 1 hour free, we want to display that. So we're going to call the availability endpoint, which is going to be Nylas.calendars.getAvailability. And then we're going to pass the request body. Here, we're going to look for any available spot. And we're going to print like from this time to this time, we're free. So we're going to run that. And you can see that with V3, actually the code is a little bit shorter than it was in V2, which is always nice. So get available. Oh. So I'm going to run it. And today I didn't have too many meetings. So I was free from 8 to 9, from 9 to 10, for 12 to 1. And what happened with 1:30, or we have the live stream. So obviously we're not going to be free from 2 to 2:30, but we're going to be from 2:30 to 3:30, and then from 3:30 to 4:30, because it ends at 5. So you can see that these are all the slots where I was free without any meetings. But coding with Nylas is, of course, reserved because it was from 2 to 2:30. So it's not going to appear in here. So this is pretty good if you want to show someone, like, this is my availability. And you can see that we can do it pretty fast and pretty easily. So that's kind of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, V3 is pretty exciting. You're gonna see it later, but we have also Kotlin now joining the gang. If you probably know, because if you know Java, you might know Kotlin, but not exactly. It's not the same language, but it still runs on the Java virtual machine. But they share the same package.
Gotcha.
So it's, but still we consider like a separate language. So
that's really cool. A few things that I wanted to kind of
sure.
double click on. So one was you kind of made a good point that there is almost like there is function parity across all the different types of things you want to do. Like you showed calendars, you showed events, and then you showed availability. And to do that, the calls were very consistent across. So it wasn't very different what you were doing. And that correlates to all SDKs. So I think we've tested and built code samples for all SDKs, or most of them that are in our docs. But it's the same. So you'd either be doing a list, a find, a create, and it applies for all the different types of information you'd be looking for, regardless of it being calendar, events, or email, or anything else that you want to kind of work with for the user.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And it was good that you kind of touched on the idea of a grant and how the grant is kind of giving you access to a specific set of user permissions based off of what the user's granted you. So you essentially get the grant ID that represents the permissions that the user's given you. And then on the back end, or on Nylas' side, we're able to kind of correlate that grant with the actual access token. So you don't have to manage access tokens anymore. You just need the API key and the user grant. And then from there, you're able to use our API to communicate or get any information for the user.
Yeah, exactly. And there's something that I forgot out of all the excitement of doing this again. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yep.
Please
like and subscribe.
Yeah.
We're on the interwebs. Go ahead and click on like for the YouTube, subscribe on the YouTube. We do have a lot of live streams and videos coming out. But I do also want to mention our blog post on API v3 that was launched recently. So go ahead and check that out. It's available. You can go ahead and use it, and you can see those feeds come in as quickly as blog displayed here, where I think in 15 minutes we were able to try out 3 or 4 APIs and get at least hundreds of results really quickly.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. Yeah, definitely go and read that blog post. It's awesome. And obviously more information is coming regarding V3. I think we're kind of like going to forget V2 and just focus on V3. There's a lot of information, a lot of things that we have done. We have worked pretty hard helping the documentation team, getting everything ready, and migrating blog posts and code samples. It has been kind of crazy, but it's cool. You're gonna see that it's amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of fun coming up. Like Blag mentioned, a good place to start would be our developer docs. We put a lot of work into showing you how to use V3. So there are a lot of code samples there that you can go ahead and try out. You can take a look at, and there are also ways to kind of get started. So we've kind of put together a few getting started guides as well. So go to developer.nylas.com to take a look at that.
Yeah, cool. So do we know what's coming next?
Yes, we do. So I think this whole month we're gonna be seeing each other a lot. Talking about V3, and I think on Friday we're gonna switch
Ooh,
from the sync. So most of this live stream was about synchronous data. So we're getting the data very synchronously, immediately. I think that makes for a great user experience if we can get the data as quickly as possible and get it in front of our users. And
mhm.
there may be some cases where we will have to do some async, and that's where it'd be good to kind of cover the webhooks side of things and just look at how to use webhooks, Nylas webhooks in API v3. So we'll cover a bit of the
Cool.
changes, anything that's new, and then we'll go through how to set them up and how to test them out so you can get going on getting data asynchronously from Nylas.
That's cool. Yeah, webhooks are totally amazing. So people are going to enjoy them. Uh, I think to mention, we don't have a cadence like we used to. We're probably going to do quite a few live streams, but it's not going to be like this Wednesday and this Friday. So just subscribe
Yep.
and you're going to get notified when we release something new.
Yep, we will have a lot of live streams coming out this month, but they will happen quite often. So please subscribe, like Logs mentioned. Follow us on the webs, and you can catch us at Nylas pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. And don't forget that tomorrow, this live stream is going in blog format. So tomorrow you're
Nice.
going to be able to see how to manage your calendar events using Ruby in a blog post. So go to nylas.com/blog and read about it.
Great. That was awesome, Blog. That was great. Great
Yeah.
walkthrough of everything for using Ruby and as well calendar and events APIs.
Cool. I don't know. That's all for me. I don't know if you have something else to say or.
I think that's great. That's all for me as well.
Cool. So nice to see everyone. Well, not to see them, but to know that you're watching us. So see you on the next episode. Bye, Ram. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.